Well, it's Friday, and we're all still here, of course. And today, let's chat about stuff. And I'm gonna sew some leather because I'm so far behind on the leather. Remember when you guys saw this last? It was in pieces, and now it's all together. Oh yeah, it's all pretty. I already stitched half of it. And while we're chatting, I'm going to stitch the other half. Okay? So, to start with, I need to measure some thread. One stitch at a time here, one stitch at a time. So, we're going to do one. That's one. All right, now we got that. And all we got to do now is match that. So that's two. Three. I'm going to go, I think, six or something like that. Four. Five. Six. And what I do with my scissors. There's my skizzers. There they are. All right. So I have some thread. This is some thick thread. What I do with my needles. There they are. So yeah, so we're all still here. The rapture didn't happen. Sadly. But actually, I wanted to go. I did. But at the same time, it's leaving time for others to find the Lord, and they can go with us. So it might be a little early to... Oh, I forgot to turn on Do Not Disturb. Oh well. Okay. All right. Number two. So what happens here is you thread the needle, then you pierce the side that you threaded. I'm so shaky this morning. I probably should have ate some breakfast. I didn't. I need to get all this done. I'm so far behind. And then once you pierce it, you pull it up. And now you have two needles threaded. This is 1mm Tigeritza waxed thread, and it's a flat thread. Makes a really pretty stitch. I mean, that stitch is gorgeous. I see somebody pop in and then somebody pop out, and then somebody pop in and somebody pop out. So far, nobody in the room, but that's okay. And here we go. We're gonna start. See, I already started. And the idea is you start in the middle and you go that way, and then you end it back stitching one and then burning it down. So I'm going to start in the same hole. I'm going to start in the same hole right here, that hole, and then I'm going to go all the way around to this end, and you'll never know that I started and stopped, or I started in this hole twice. You'll never know. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but it's thick leather, so I gotta use pliers to pull it through. So once you pull it through, you grab your other needle, and you pull them even. Pull them even. Okay, now we begin. I'm going to hold this side with this finger so I don't pull any more. And then I'm going to go through that. I'm going to go through the next hole. And this is pretty thick. As you can see, it's a pretty thick piece. So it takes some doing to get it in there. And I'm going to use my pliers. It's going to be rinse and repeat here. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit the microphone. All right. So this time I'm going this way. I'm going to back up a little bit. And I'm going to pull the thread down. You want to do the same thing every stitch. So I'm pulling the thread down and I'm opening up a little part right here. That's going to be where I put my needle. And I want to do this every single time. Hi, Gladys. I want to do it every single time the same way. And this is my first stitch in here. Then when you tighten once you go through, you tighten it a little bit. And now it's rinse and repeat. So how's everything, Gladys? It's getting a little warm out here, but I thought I would go live. I wish I could just sit and talk, but seriously, I'm so far behind on the leather stuff. I can sit and talk, but I have to do something. Otherwise, I'll never get anything done. But I already did the first half. Now I'm doing the second half. And it's rinse and repeat through these holes. What you're doing is you're crossing the needles, like crossing them. So this time I go through this one. And I got it all buckered up. And again. So now I put both needles through one hole, tighten it a little bit, and do it again. Looks like rain tonight in the Imperial Valley. I used to live in the Imperial Valley, or close to it is Coachella in the Imperial Valley. I lived in Coachella for about a year as a kid. That in Indio for a little while. We lived in Indio until we found a house in Coachella. And my dad worked in Palm Springs. Close, but no cigar. I know it's down there. Back when I had my video production company, I would get hired out by different companies to do videos for them. And I got hired by some the citrus growers, and they had a lot of oranges down there in Imperial Valley, and we flew. They chartered a twin engine plane, and we flew down there. Then we flew to Salinas. We flew up and down the state videotaping this production for them, and I messed up somehow. Of course, when I'm chatting, that's when I mess up, right? But we flew down there. Yeah, I remember the sandstorms. They would sandblast your car. I remember that. A few of them, really. It was like tule fog here. You couldn't see like hardly in front of you. I don't know why we were driving in it, but we were. I remember it was hotter than blazes. I remember that real well. Oops, I'm probably hiding myself, but Yeah, this is the strongest stitch you can do in leather. I'm going back through, and I did it again. I'm getting caught up in these little flaps. Pretty hot, huh? Pretty hot over there, I bet. I used to like the date palms and the Coachella Festival or whatever they called it. I used to like that. It was always fun. Oh, here we go again. Getting it all crossed up. Yeah, so there's another comet. So now we have 8 comets in the solar system. And I had a dream. I had a dream that I was fighting demons. Yeah, the date festival. I always loved those. It was always a good time, and the dates are good. I think I was around 9. So from like 8 to almost 10 or 11, we lived down there. But yeah, so there's another comet, and I had this dream. I had this dream that demons, I was fighting demons, and towards the end, Jesus was helping me, and so was an angel, and we were fighting these demons in this dream. All kinds of demons. They were hard. The last one was really hard. But then, we were standing there and we were cheering that we beat the last one, which was really hard. And then Jesus started telling us that there was still one more demon, or really we thought the hard demon was hard, but he wasn't hard as the ones coming with the comets. The one coming with a comet was harder. Right after I had that on, in November of 23 is when I had that dream. And then in April 8th of 24, they had the devil comet, and I thought that's what Jesus was. He might have been telling me about that, but now that there's 7 comets coming in, and now they're starting to say this 3-eye atlas. This 3-eye atlas might not even be. It's not a comet now. Now they're saying it's coming in for a landing, slowing down, and I don't know if to believe that or not, but they're saying it's going to make a visit to the Earth. And then I saw something else where somebody said it did get hit by a solar flare aimed directly at it, a pretty big one, because when the comets come in, they affect the sun. They are trying to trick us. We're at the end, I tell you. We're at the very end of the age, and we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff coming up. Or I guess we already have, huh? We're going to see more, though. It's not the end. The Earth's going to rattle and roll. Some of my family was asking me about the 3.5 years. There's the first 3.5 years of the tribulation is going to be good, right? Apocalypse now, yeah. The first 3.5 years of the tribulation actually is going to be good financially and health wise, the whole thing. But only the earth isn't going to be, right? So the government's going to be one world government. AI is going to come in. They're going to set up AI up. Everybody's going to be doing good. but the earth is still going to continue to have birth pangs until Jesus puts his feet right on the earth. And that's not far away when you think of, like, it's less than a decade that might happen. I know this is boring, right? There's been a lot of pole shifts, so that's not really that big of a deal. And right now, if you're a pilot, like I like flying. I wanted to, when I was young, I wanted to grow up and be a pilot in the Air Force. I joined the Civil Air Patrol. I learned how to fly. I never got my pilot license. That's one, like, I don't have any shoulda, woulda, couldas, kinda. That's the only one thing that if I could do over, I would have did it back in the late 70s when I was going to do that. I don't think I would have joined the service, because then I had already been dating my wife, and that's the reason I didn't go in, right? Because I thought, if I go in, she's not gonna wait. And I knew what I had to marry her. I just had to. And I was gonna go into the service with one of my high school buddies, and he went into the Navy. We were gonna go buddy system. But then we took the ASVAB, and I found out he couldn't be a pilot. I could be the pilot. I could do whatever I wanted. I passed the test like a real high. And they wanted me for like 8 years. They hounded me to go in, but I wouldn't. I didn't want to lose what I had at home. I had a really good job. I was in the painters union, really young. By 3 years, I was a journeyman painter, and I had a pretty good life, even though I wish I could have got my license. And I guess, like, I could have got the license anytime. And I'm getting messed up here. There we go. I could have got the license anytime over the last 50 years, but I didn't, for whatever reason. A lot of it, I almost moved to Alaska, and I had a friend that I used to fly with in high school, and a little bit out, like probably from till around 1984. And he bought a bush plane, and he was going to go to Alaska, and he was going to do bush plane stuff. And he wanted me to go with him. He wanted me to go with him, and my wife was like, I'm not going. It was like, ah. So not only did I not go in the service, but I didn't do the Alaska thing, and I probably should have. So anything pilot related, I would have did. Even though a couple of years later, my video business was taken off, and I had $500,000 of video equipment, making TV shows and documentaries and commercials, parties, weddings, you name it. And I signed a contract to go to Africa in 1986, about a year before I went, and travel with that camera and go to several countries where these churches were paying big money. They were raising money for the Africans in the bush, and needy Africans, but they want to know where their money went. So I signed a contract to go to Africa and document by video. Went with 7 guys. So flying, I've done my share. Yeah, I think this was the time back. That was the time, was like the late 70s, early 80s, and In fact, I had an opportunity to go work on the pipeline through the painters union, but I didn't do that either. But yeah, it would have been a fun trip, you know. But I can't complain. I really don't have any woulda, shoulda, couldas. Really, I've done a lot of stuff. When I was in the casino and marketing director, and also the food and beverage director, and also the computer director, all at the same time. And a lot of people, they say when I start talking about stuff like this, that they're like, bullshit, dude, you didn't do all that stuff. Yeah, I did. I did. I learned how to drive in a, whew, sweating. No, I can't touch the leather because I'm wet. I learned how to drive in a 4104 and a 4106 charter bus. By the age of 15 and a half, I had a class, what was it, class B license for the charter bus. And I could drive around in a charter bus at 15 and a half. I had to have another driver with me until I turned 16. And I didn't drive it very much, you know. But a lot of people, they tell me, you know, that I'm full of shit. Yeah, worm tea. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. In fact, I started a worm farm in the back. I don't have the worms, but I have. In fact, that's something I want to do videos on starting a worm farm and how to start it and all that, and then go through the whole process if we're here long enough. And it's too hot right now for me to be out there. And then I'm just recovering from that back surgery. Right before the back surgery, I bought somebody gave me an ice chest. That's what I'm going to start my worm farm in, is an ice chest. And I bought some peat moss, and that's it. And right now the peat moss is moist. I filled the ice chest up, and then I opened the drain. So you fill up the ice chest with water, and then you let it drain. And I did that several times. Oh. And you do that, and the peat moss holds the moisture. So I shut the lid on the ice chest, so it's still moist from originally, not molding or anything. But when I get a chance, I'm just going to go buy about 4 bait cups of red worms, and I'm gonna throw it in the ice chest and start my worm farm. And that's how I'm gonna do it. And I used to have, I built these 4x8. I actually learned it when I first got in the worms. I wanted to sell bait worms, like for bait. I lived up in the hills, had a 20-acre ranch. It was on the way to all the fishing holes and vacation spots and camping and all that. And I wanted to teach my kids business. So instead of starting off with a couple of bait cups, I had no idea what I was doing. There was no internet. So everything was from the library, or if I could find people that were doing it. And there was a blind guy in LA, and his name was, I don't know what his whole name, I don't know what his name is. He was called the Worm King, but he is blind, living in a mansion. And he had a little guy that was his assistant, and he told his assistant what to do, and he had a real successful worm farm. In fact, he was selling the castings all over the world, and bait worms. And that's what I want. So I spent $1,000 with him, and I bought a bunch of worms. I can't remember how many pounds it was now, but it was about a basketball size in a tub. And it came with a little book on telling you how to grow worms. And there I went home, and drove all the way back to where I lived. And I had I had already built it was a 2 foot high, 8 foot wide by 4 foot, 4 foot by 8 foot by 2 feet deep, and out of 3/4 plywood. On the bottom, I had 2 pieces of 3/4, and I drilled inch holes every square foot. And in between the two plywoods, after I drilled the holes through the two plywoods, I laid some window screen so they couldn't escape, right? But they had drain holes and all that. And I put a board about halfway through, and I filled it up with peat moss and coconut coir. Is that how you say it? And I put that basketball size pile of worms. Well, I tell you, I killed 1,000,000 worms. I never lost all of them, but over the course of 2 years, I probably killed 1,000,000,000 worms. Sorry, I hit my microphone again. I probably killed 1,000,000,000 worms easy, but I grew that when I realized if I just don't mess with them, I don't check on them to see how they're doing. I just put all the food scraps. They would eat food scraps, paper plates, napkins, paper bags, every yard waste, garden waste. And then I had horses, so I would feed them horse manure, and I found out that's what they love is manure. They're like manure worms. And so I started feeding them a lot of, I dropped my pliers. Oh well. I started feeding them a lot of horse manure, and it made the best castings, but I wasn't in it for the castings. I was in it for the worms. Well, we tried to sell bait worms everywhere, all the bait shops. We had a little thing set on the side of the road. I lived a mile off the main highway, but we set up a little thing where you could put money in a thing and buy some worms. And I sold some like that. I had neighbors come, mostly family, would come and get them and really not pay, and friends too. But that was okay. And then one day, they were falling apart. They were segmenting, and the worms were actually falling apart, and they were looking pretty bad. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. And by this time, I had 3 4x8 by 2 foot tall worm bins, and the worms were dying like crazy. See, and something a lot of people don't know is you can kill all your live worms, but if you keep the conditions right, they lay these little eggs that have 5 to 11 or 15 little worms in it. You could kill every worm in your bin, and as long as you keep the condition right, or not keep the condition right, and it can bake all summer, and then the first rain or two, all of a sudden your worm bin's full of worms again. Can't kill nature. That was something I learned early on, is I couldn't kill them. Like I could kill them, but they always bounced back. But they were segmenting, and they were looking pretty sickly, and I didn't know what it was. So I went to the library and was looking it up. I couldn't find anything on it. And one day I ran into this guy that he grew the worms. He was the guy that was selling all the worms, right, to the fishermen. And what I found out from all the stores and bait people that sold bait, they wouldn't even give me a chance to sell worms because this guy was good at business. He took care of his customers. He always had the fattest worms. If anything died, he would replace it. I mean, he was an excellent businessman, and he had everybody. And nobody would give me a shot. They wouldn't even give me a little shelf space or anything. Why? When that guy, why? They already have the best worms. They already got the best guy. So that's why I couldn't sell bait worms. Mine were as fat and healthy at one time, but now they were segmenting and falling apart. And I ran into this guy one day, and we sat and talked, and we went to lunch, and I took some pictures of my worms, not with a cell phone because there was no cell phones, but with those little throwaway cameras. And I was showing them the pictures because I was trying to find out in the libraries what was wrong. And immediately he told me, hey, nothing alive can live in its own excrement, right? They can't live in their own shit. The worms could eat every excrement around, animal, whatever, but they will not eat their own. And they can't. So they're dying because you didn't clean the castings out. It's like, how do you do that, you know? And he told me, and I went and spent like $1,200, and I bought this big, long, they called it a trommel screen. And I started cleaning my castings out. And so what I did was every 45 days, what I also found out from that guy is if you take care of them and you keep them fed, not overfed, not overwatered, but you keep the conditions right, they will double their numbers every 30 to 45 days. 30 days in like the summer when it's perfect conditions. In the winter, they slow down 45 days, maybe 50, 60 days, but average over the whole year is about 45 days. So when they eat everything down and they fill up their bedding to where it's almost all castings, I did this trial and error, but what I found the best way to do is, you know, when you go in the grocery store and they have those bread totes or milk crates, even 1/4-inch screen. What I found out was when I couldn't find any more bread crates and milk bottle crates, I went to 1/4-inch screen, and I would lay the screen on top of the bedding, and then I would pile about 6 inches deep by 2 feet wide round pile of fresh horse manure. Fresh. Everybody says you need to compost it and all that stuff. If you fill the whole top of the bedding up, then you do, because it's going to compost and it's going to heat up and the worms can't eat it. But if you keep it a thin layer and only right in the middle and leave the edges around the bedding open, they will destroy fresh horse manure. Absolutely destroy it. But you do have to rinse it. You have to put it in a garbage can with some holes in it, fill it up with water a couple times and let it drain out, and then feed them. That gets the salt and the ammonia, a lot of the salt and ammonia out, and they'll love it. They'll absolutely love it. But you let it drain out good. You don't want to put it on there real sopping wet, right? So I started cleaning the castings out. I wasn't after the castings. I'm still, even though I met this guy and I found out why everybody won't give me shelf space, I never say never, right? So I'm still trying to, right, it wouldn't kill them if your bedding's big enough. I mean, it will if your bedding's not big enough, but they'll just get out of the way of it. They'll go somewhere else in the bin. And once it quits heating and it composts itself, then they'll be back and eat it. But so I'm a diehard, and I'm still trying to sell worms, and so I buy this big trommel screen and I start clearing. Now I have every time you harvest. So it took a year to go from a half of a 4x8 by 2 foot high bed to a full 4x8 by 2 foot bed, because of all the mistakes I made and all that. But once I started rolling every 45 to every couple of months, about, when I harvested one of these 4x8 by 2 foot high bedding, I could split and put in half of it into a new 4x8 and put the other half back in the old 4x8, and in 60 days I would have 2 full 4x8 by 2 foot high bins. Now I'm up to 52 bins, right? 52 4x8 by 2 foot tall. I got a huge worm farm. But right now I'm at, so I'm roll back to when I only have like 6. And and the worms are dying like crazy. Yeah, I had those. I was selling those. You don't need those. You can put them in a regular old tote. Just go down to Lowe's or Costco or Walmart and buy some totes and just put them in totes. That's fine. Every tote, if you get a decent sized tote, an average sized tote, I don't know what the size is, but every 60 days or so, that's $300 of castings. And if you start selling tea, it could be more than that by a long shot. But I had all this castings or worm poop. I had it piled high, 7 feet tall by 12 or 15 feet around. Big old giant pile of poo, worm poo. I didn't know it was worth anything. I thought it was just a bunch of shit. And in fact, we made jokes about it all the time. It was just a bunch of shit. And I used to have these parties at my ranch. Okay, so I'm like a weirdo, but I do these things. I wish I was still healthy enough because I would still be doing it, but yeah, it's the good shit. I would have these parties every year, twice a year. The first one was in the spring, and I called it Spring is Sprung. And the 20 acres would be beautiful, it would be green, and the wildflowers are all out. And it was around Memorial Day, and I would tell all my friends to bring their campers, their tents, the whatever, they could sleep on the ground, but be there by Friday night, midnight, because at midnight I lock the gate, and I won't open it again until Sunday around 11 or 12. But I always had live music. I supplied all the food and beer, and we had a good old time for a weekend. And then I would do the same thing in the fall. I would call it Fall is Fell party, and it would all be dry, But the same thing. Everybody has to be there by Friday. I think it was around Labor Day, right? And so Friday midnight until Sunday around noon, 11 noon, and then I would open the gate and let everybody go home. But I would serve breakfast and everything on Sunday before they left. The band would be playing, usually a couple of bands. My family loved it. All my friends loved it. But so I had this big pile of poo out there, and a lot of my friends at the time were, and maybe they still are, I don't know, but they were buying homes and building homes. And one of them, he had just bought a house and he's in the landscaping thing, making his landscaping and all that. And we were playing horseshoes, and he's looking at this big pile of fresh, rich looking dirt. And it smelled just like dirt, even though it was worm poo and it came from garbage and horse manure and rabbit manure and goat manure and you name it kind of manure. It smelled like fresh dirt, and it looked real beautiful. But I never made the connection, even though I had a greenhouse and everything on my property and used the greenhouse. I had roses all over the place, but anyways, I had no idea what this castings was. And this guy, he's like, "Hey man, could I have some of that really good looking dirt you got over there?" I go, "You can take as much as you want. I don't want it, So I said that to him, and then over the course of a couple of months, that pile disappeared. And there was people coming up, I had no idea who they were, and they would pull up and back right up to it and load their pickup truck. And I'm like, I was watching them. I had cameras at the time. They were wired, but I had cameras at my gate in several places up the branch road. It was probably like an eighth of a mile from my gate to my house. I went all the way along the property and then around and up to the property, up on the top of the hill where I live. And I was watching these people come and go, and I shut the gate because I didn't know who they were. You know, I kept a shotgun handy and all that, but they were all after that dirt, poo, good shit, I guess. And one day I was out there and I had the trommel going, and one of my friends was helping me clean some shit out. And I had left the gate open because people were coming in and out, you know, friends, and it was weekend, and we were cleaning out the castings, and we were putting it on the ground because there was no more castings on the ground. So we're just piling it back in the same place where I've been piling it, and I was tripping out because there wasn't any there. And it had me thinking, like, there must be something to this dirt, because as fast as I could put it down there, it would disappear. And a little while, this big Dodge dually comes rumbling up the driveway with this guy, an old dude, and he backs up to the pile, and then he gets out and he starts cussing me out, telling me not to put the shit on the dirt, that I was getting it dirty. You know, I was looking at him like, who are you? Like, telling me I can't put shit on the dirt? Like, this is my, like, who, like, I told him, you better turn around and get your butt, take your big dually and head on out of here before you get hurt, old dude. I'm about to smack you upside the head with a shovel. And he was like, and I was walking towards him too, and I meant it. Like, I don't know who you are. I hadn't even said a word to him. You know, he's already out cussing and telling me not to do that. I was like, I'll do whatever I want, and you better get your butt right off of this property, like right now. He's like, wait, stop. He goes, you don't know what you're doing. I go, really? Yes, I do. He says, no, that stuff that you're throwing on the dirt is black gold. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, it's black gold. And he explains everything to me, and then I help him load his truck, and he rolls on. We didn't dump it on the ground. He helped us a little bit. Hi, Phoenix Fire. What's up, brother? We helped him, and he helped us trommel some castings out onto a tarp, and then we would load it into his truck until it was full. And he was telling me all this stuff. I couldn't believe it. And I went to the library and I looked it up, and I found out he was correct, that it was 4 times better than any fertilizer in the world. 4 times better than any fertilizer in the world. Totally organic. It would not burn your plants. You could grow your plants straight in this shit. So I went to the library, I learned all that, and then I came home and I took my greenhouse. I had a bunch of huge spider plants, and what we would do, I mean, they were big. They're in these big 8-gallon tubs. Better than bat guano. Bat guano will burn your plant. If you put too much, you can't plant it straight in it like you can a worm castings. So I went in there and I wanted to test this shit out, right? So I trimmed all the little baby spiders off that you hang off of a spider plant. Hollyweird. I don't know anything about Hollyweird except for, have you ever noticed that the stars, all their kids are all trans and stuff like that? And even if they adopt, somehow the ones they adopt turn out being trans too. I think they're weird, all right. I think they're satanic. So they have the worms that have composting worms and layers. Like, oh yeah, oh, I don't wonder why. Yeah, so I went in my greenhouse, and I had, what I would do is we would sell spider plants to, we had some stores like Rite Aid and little garden shops and stuff like that, and we would sell them our spider plants. We would pot them up, and we grew them in the greenhouse. So I did that, but only I took, I made up my own. Hi, Ivy. I made up my own potting soil, and what I did was I fooled around with how much castings to mix with potting soil, and I came up with a 3 to 1, 3 parts soil to 1 part castings, and then I decided I'm going to test all that. Okay, so I came up with what I thought was the best. After a couple of months of messing around, now I wanted to do a full blown. It was time to, in a couple of months, it was time to sell some spider plants to the little garden shops and nurseries and stuff like that, hardware stores. And so I had this really cool 3 to 1, 3 part soil, 1 part castings, and I planted about 40 of the little baby spider plants in some little pots that I had, and I put them on one side of the greenhouse, and then I put what I usually put, the potting soil mix for about 30 or 40 spiders babies, and then I put the ones with worm castings on one side of the greenhouse and the ones without on the other side of the greenhouse. Set up all my drip system, and it was all on timers and all that stuff, so it would water and do everything. I didn't have to do anything, but I mean, it would even turn the fan on when it was too hot. It would turn the cooler on. It was cool. Well, I have a friend, he's a master gardener. I had no idea, he didn't know I was doing worms. And one day he came over for my son, my son hung out with his son, and he came over and he drove up and he's like, man, I never been here before. He lived in another area where I lived for 5 years, on 5 acres. But he comes over and he's like, you have a greenhouse? Like, what? Dude, let me see what you're doing. And I went in there, and it had been about 3 weeks since I had potted these spider babies. And he was noticing right away that there was these small ones over here. They were growing, and they had a little shoot coming up, right? But that was going to make a baby spider or a flower. But the other side, they were bushing out, but there wasn't nothing. And he's like, so what's the deal here? And I started explaining everything, and I told him, and he started tripping out. He deserves a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So he's like tripping out on this, and he gets my watering schedule, and he does all this, checking everything out for me, and he says, can I bring my camera crew tomorrow? I didn't know it, but he had on the public broadcast channel, he had a TV show called Master Gardener. I had no idea. I don't watch TV, still don't. And so he brings his camera guy, and he's talking about the worms. He shows the worm farm, and he's excited, right? Real excited. And he does this whole thing on it, and he holds up the different spiders, one with and one without, and shows the difference in 3 weeks. He goes, can I come back in a couple of months? I think 90 days. And that was about the time when it was going to be about time to ship out all the spiders that we had been growing. In 90 days, I told him, sure, come on back, no problem. And 90 days later, he came back, and the ones that had the little shoot coming up that were in the castings, they were full-blown spiders with babies and flowers all over them. And the other ones barely had a couple of shoots coming out in 90 days. They weren't even as developed and huge and colorful as the ones in the worm castings. I sold those at a premium, believe it or not. Then I tried it on roses and I tried it on grapes. And he came back with his camera crew and he's holding them up. And the guy couldn't even, I thought he was going to pee himself. He was so happy. He became my best customer. And not only that, after he aired that on his TV show, the second segment, I started selling the castings like crazy. I was making anywhere from 11 to 13,000 a month selling the castings. I'm serious. I was selling worm shit and making over 10,000 a month. People were coming from all over California to get this shit and also to buy worms from me. Like I was starting to sell worms, but it wasn't for bait. It was for worm farmers. I had them from the Bay Area, San Francisco, LA, all over. Northern California, especially some of the pot growers, man. Oh man, that was like their secret weapon. I had a bunch of cops. Who would have thought, I have friends that are cops, but who would have thought that they would be into roses, like rose competitions, flower competitions. Well, a couple of my friends that are cops, they came by and I gave them a little bag. I told them I had the good shit, right? And we make jokes about it to the cops. I got the good shit. You want a big bag or a little bag of the good shit, right? And I had a little bag, like sandwich bag full of castings, and I called it the good shit. And I gave it to him and I told him how to mix it and everything. And I gave him a couple, but I would give these away to people and tell them, if you like what your plant does, come back and I'll sell you some more, right? And they always came back. Within 3 or 4 weeks, they were back. It was amazing. You could sell the shit out of that shit. It really is the good shit. It's so funny because I started talking about it in the casino, because a couple times they were threatening me with my job, and I told them I don't need your job. I know it pays good, but I make more selling shit than you pay me, even though, make your... that would be funny, huh? But yeah, I would go about every semester. I would speak at the community college or at Fresno State University in the marketing classes for the casino. And I was talking about worms, and to the professor, he heard about it, and he's asking me questions about the worms. From that time on, I didn't talk about casino marketing very much. I talked about worm farming and how much money you could make selling shit. And that part, the shit part, you can make a ton of jokes about the good shit, and it's really good shit, and you can sell the good shit, and just with the word shit in it. And these college students would go nuts laughing. I have them rolling about all the shit, and some of them bought worms from me and started worm farms. But I'm telling you, if you have a place where you can do a worm farm, even if it's tubs, like totes or whatever you want to call them. Okay, so every 45 days, the castings in a tote is about $300 that you can make off of it. There's other ways to even make more money off it, but if you're just selling straight up castings, it's $300. But if you make your own potting soil mix, where your castings go further, you make way more money. And then if you start doing the tea, like every 5-gallon bucket is $50, $10 a gallon. And you tell them to bring their own milk jug, their own gallon milk jug, and they will. And they'll come back and come back and come back. And believe me, you'll be making thousands of dollars. You'll be feeding almost all of your food waste in your house. No meats, no dairies. They can eat it, but it draws flies and bad things into your bedding. If you can handle that, you could feed them everything. They'll eat it. They'll eat us if we die. They don't eat anything alive, though. They only eat things that are dead. But they'll eat anything. And I'm done. Yay! So now I'm going to cut these off. Just a little piece of it. Like right, not very, I'm only going to leave like 1/8 of an inch of string, right? I'm so shaky, I need to eat lunch. But I leave a little bit of thread. And that's all glued, it's not going to come apart, it's all polished. But now that I have that, I went 1 stitch back so it overlaps. And then I take my lighter, what do I do with it? This is my sewing lighter. It's leather, basket weave. Sell these for like 25 bucks. So then I melt, I don't know if I can show this very good. I melt that little piece. The same with this side. Let's see, oh, it's this right there. I don't know if I can show it like I did the other one. You don't really want to set it on fire, you just want to melt it down. And there you go. It's all okay. Now that I have it like that, I need to take my hammer, get a polished hammer so it doesn't leave anything on the leather. And I don't know if I can show this, but anyways, you take it and you hammer the threads down. I know you can't see that, but I can't do it and hold the camera at the same time. And there we go. I never made any sandals. This is for a shovel, like a camping shovel. I'll show you. Let me move this back a little bit. I have these guys, I bought this, I traded some cutting board, that cutting board, big old huge cutting board, and it's halfway across my bench, like 4 feet by 3 feet, 2 sections of it, for the sheath for this camping shovel. They bought 2 of these shovels, and it comes with, let me show you. And I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, right? So I just used this as a pattern. And they said they wanted leather ones. They said they would trade me the cutting board for, and so I made this one right here for it. And I got all the way done, all sewed, everything was good. Stainless steel snaps, copper rivets, double sewn. On this one I didn't double sew it. I just put 1 because I thought it was overkill. But still, copper rivets, never ever come out. And then I use Sam Brown closing devices, and I still have to put the shovel in here like this. Let me see, I probably should do that right now. Make sure it fits, right? You know it will. Let's see if I can get it all the way in there. I love leather. Ooh, this one fits even better than the last one. Nice. But anyways, okay, now it's in there, and what I have to do is I have to roll this over and then figure out where to put the hole for the closer. This one too. So what I did on the last one where I made the mistake, I did it, I put the shovel in there and I found where the hole is. And while I was doing that, I measured everything out, and then I want to make a little cut so this part spreads over the Sam Browne closure, and this cut is supposed to be on this side, not this side, because you don't want the strap pulling on your cut, right? I didn't even realize, but there was all these people showed up, and I was right. This is the last thing I got to do. The last thing. So I'm hurrying because I know I'm almost done, and then I freaking screw up and cut the wrong side while everyone's talking to me, and I should have just stopped. But oh no, I was almost done. Did all the sewing, all the cutting, all the gluing, everything, right? And then I cut it wrong. And it's done. That's all I did. That's it. Done. But am I going to give it to the guy knowing that over the years, this part right here is going to rip because I cut it on the wrong side? Oh, heck no, I'm not. I'm going to make another one, right? And I'm going to do it right this time. And if somebody comes up talking to me when I'm putting holes right here, you can bet your sweet bippy I'm going to stop. But I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, there it goes all the way down in there. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Yeah. All right. Fits good, don't you think? Camping shovel. I love these snaps. So this is to hang on the molly screw. Yeah, I did. I'm not proud of myself, but I did. Hey, everybody, I saw a hummingbird and I saw Daytona. How's it going, Brian? What's up, brother? I saw you guys sneaking in. But yeah, so look at the color difference. You see the color difference here? Is there much of a difference on camera? These are both natural. But I can't just give you, if I make something and they want it natural like this, I can't give it to you just straight up natural. It'll stain too easy and stuff like that. So what I do is I coat it, I put a coating of, and I did this one anyways, even though I had known already that I was going to do it over, I'm going to keep it. I put neat foot oil. Get a nice coating of neat foot, and then let it dry 24 hours, and then I put a like a mink. It's really like a wax, atom wax type thing, and then you seal it with that wax. It'll still take oil, like later if you want to clean it, like 5 years from now, if you want to clean it up and re-oil it and all that, and rejuvenate it, it'll still take oil. Some things like Resolene, like stuff that you put on your, people use, it's like a mop and glow, and they'll put that on their leather and it's shiny and it seals it from getting water stains. But in 5 years, these things will last years. In 5 years, when you want to clean it with saddle soap and then re-oil it and put the wax coating, like Aussies or something like that, wax and oil, mink oil, it won't penetrate the mop and glow stuff. It's called Resolene, but it's the same stuff. You don't want to, a lot of people don't know, if it's going to be a knife sheath, I would do it, but I don't even use the stuff because I know what I'm making you or anyone will last longer than you're going to live if taken care of. This right here will last 75, 100 years. Easy. And to prove it, right now I know you guys seen it, but I have some saddlebags. These saddlebags were U.S. Army saddlebags. And I'm cleaning them up and restoring them. I got a couple of things to do to them. These are from the 1920s. 1920s. They're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And they have these cotton bags that go on the inside that hang on these buttons, right? And these are the U.S. Cavalry. They still have, I think on this side, I have you could see U.S. Cavalry or U.S., right? I don't know if you can see that. But these when they were establishing Yosemite National Park, these guys were in there establishing it, the cavalry. So 1920s, I don't know how many years that is. 100 years, right? So if it's like 2025, it's over 100 years. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt time, yeah. So these are over 100 years. I didn't do the math, but over 100 years. So Mom can around 3:30. Okay. 3:30. What time is it? 2:30. All right.
It's the only time they have.
Okay, I'll do it. Whoops. So one of the cars that I shuttled from one town to another town, I still have. It's got to go to the shop and get the air conditioning fixed. So I got to do that at 3:30. But anyways, what I make, even though I made this one wrong and it would still last years, it would rip out right there because as you're pulling it on the shovel, it's pulling on that cut. The wrong cut. It has to be on this side. So this one, because of that, I made another one just like it. Only this time I only stitched it one stitch line, double saddle stitch, still using the copper rivets, still using the Sam Brown. I love the fat lines in the leather. On this one I made it go this way because everything was running like this, but on this one I wanted it to run a long way so you could see it. It's so pretty. As this ages, it'll be gorgeous looking. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. But we'll oil it and it'll change colors. It'll get a little bit darker, but it'll still be natural. But yeah, this will last you 100 years or more if you take care of it. Just like those saddlebags right there from 1925. Thank you, Busted Muffin. Yeah, it's the double saddle stitch. That right there, 2 needles, 1 stitch at a time. When I put holes in this, when I'm stitching, I mark where the holes are, and then I use this by hand. I poke every single hole by hand. It's called a stitching awl, sewing awl. It's a blade. So I mark the spacing for the holes, and then I come through one hole at a time. This is the back side. This is the front side. And I feel stupid for cutting that little line on the wrong side because this is completely done except for that. I will keep it though. I'm not going to throw it away. Maybe I'll buy one of those shovel things. And there's ways to fix this. If I'm not going to sell it to somebody, I could cut this off and take another strap and bevel them to where they lay over like that, and then sew them and put a rivet in the middle of it and then fold it over. I could, except for I can't get this off without destroying. I can't get this off and unstitch it and then try to get in there and stitch it back in there or put that back in there without destroying the whole thing. This is all glued. This is glued. It's all glued down and then sewn and then riveted. There's no way without destroying it. It's just easier to start over. So, you know, while I was making all these mistakes, oops, I'm bumping my... While I was making all these mistakes, I had bought this old leather and it was hard and really like hard to poke holes through. And I decided after I made this one, I actually made this one 1.5 times. This makes 2.5 times. One of these ones I messed up on, I think it was this side. So I had to redo this. And then I wound up having to redo the whole thing. But I decided I better make something that I'm not giving to anybody or selling to anybody and make some mistakes on it, right? So that's when I made this. And I used the hardest leather I had. And I made a notepad. Let's see if I can see it, but it's beautiful. Even though this leather was junk leather, you can see how when I was dyeing it, some places are hard and it wouldn't take the dye, and some were soft, and it had all kinds of cuts in it, and it was nasty leather. It fought me. It was rolled up and stayed in the roll over 2 years in a garage, and when I unrolled it, it did not want to stay unrolled so I could cut out. And oh my God, that fought me. It fought me on the dye work. It fought me on the needle work. It fought me on the cutting. But only I forced it to do what my will onto that leather, and it's doing what I want it to do. That's what you could do to all leather. That one was just more difficult. Fought me. Bent my little Bennett. If you can see, it's bent. I bent that thing, and then my stitches were crooked, and I was so angry because it was bent. And then I had to twist my wrist over a little bit to get it to go in straight and poke the hole straight. I need to sharpen it again, but yeah, that made me so angry, because if I'm not paying attention now, and after you punch, like several hundred holes, you get muscle memory, and you start working it the same every time. Then I bent it. Now I had to adjust my wrist and move the blade a little bit, and I could still make straight holes. But if I'm not paying attention, like if I was sitting here talking on a video with you guys, my muscle memory would go back to how I was putting it straight, and then it makes the stitches go like this. It goes through and it comes up, and then this is what happens right here. You can see I bent it on this old hard leather. You can see how the stitches are not straight like these, and I actually bent it right here on this really thick part of leather. I bent it right there on that. This is really thick. But long as there's a little piece of leather where and I'm able to stitch it together, and the thread can't pop out of the side of the leather, it'll hold forever and ever and ever and ever. And my little notepad will last me. My grandkids, if we're still here, my great grandkids are going to be passing that down to their kids if they take care of it. And they should be able to. I make videos just of leather that I share with my family, because I kind of want, like how the worm farm was. None of my kids picked that up. We did great business, and they worked really hard, and they seen how much money you could make. But did they keep doing it? No. Even though they're all successful, and I can't complain, like one of them's a plant manager over Pollywood, and making 6 figures, and all of them are doing really, really well. They own several homes, all this stuff. I mean, they're doing really, really good. Well, guys, it's getting busy. My wife and daughter and grandkids and great grandkids just showed up. I got to get ready, this all cleaned up, and take that car over and get the air conditioning fixed. I will do this again. I'm thinking tomorrow. I got to work on another one of these, but it's mahogany. So tomorrow, if you guys don't mind, I'll do a live, but I'm going to be working on leather so I can catch up. I'm way, way, way behind. Otherwise, I would just sit and chat with you guys. But I love you guys. I want to pray for you. I pray right now that the Lord bless you in every area of your life. I pray healing onto you, every molecule in your body line up with the word of God and be healed, made whole in Jesus' name. I loose the finances that are in heaven, and your bank account will be overabundant with flowing money in Jesus' name. That God walk before you and go before you where you find favor everywhere you go in Jesus' name. All right, guys. I love you all. We'll see you soon.